Tonight, let your breath be a soft tide, moving in and out without effort. And imagine your day as a quiet river that carried you here. A glance, a sound, a memory, each small ripple touched another and another until the water grew restless. In the Buddha's teaching, this gentle chain has a name: causes leaning on causes, moments leaning on moments, the way a single spark becomes warmth or wildfire. You don't need special words to see it. You only need this simple kindness toward your own experience. Notice how contact becomes feeling, how feeling becomes wanting, how wanting becomes the tightening in the chest. And notice, too, how the chain loosens when you pause and breathe. Nothing is wrong with you. The river is only doing what rivers do. Together we will watch it with soft eyes, learn where to rest the oar, and drift back toward the wide, calm lake within. When we speak of not seeing clearly, we are not accusing the heart of a fault. We are noticing a soft fog that sometimes rests on the fields of our perception. A mist that makes familiar shapes look strange and distant. This fog shows up in ordinary moments. You open your eyes in the morning, and the mind immediately tells a hurried story about who you are and what the day will demand. And because the story is so quick and so confident, you do not think to ask whether it is true. You carry the speed of that story into your coffee, into your commute, into the way you meet the faces you love. You assume that what you feel is the only way to feel, that what you think is the way things are, that what you fear is already waiting behind the door. This is not a crime, it is a habit. And it is a tender habit, formed to protect you from the uncertainty of life. Like a child who pulls a blanket over their head and believes the storm has moved away. In the Buddha's language, this habit is called not knowing, but not the innocent not knowing that opens a question with wonder. It is the type not knowing that insists it already understands and therefore does not need to look. It is the moment when you treat a thought as a fact, a feeling as a fate, a passing mood as a mirror of the world. And because the mind is quick to build on what it has assumed, this first quiet blur becomes a path of footsteps, the impulse to act before you have paused, the old patterns waking and moving your hands, the familiar tone in your voice, the body tensing at a phantom threat, the heart bracing as if the past were happening again. If you could slow time, you would see that the fog gathers at the very beginning, when contact meets consciousness and a shape forms. And in that half second, you either meet the shape with curiosity or you meet it with the weight of yesterday. When we meet it with the weight of yesterday, we say, this is who I am, this is who you are, this is how this always goes. And by saying so, we plant the seeds that make it so again. But there is another way, a quieter way, and it begins with the simplest skill, to notice what is vivid now. If you place a hand on your chest and feel the rise and fall, if you soften your jaw and let the breath be natural, if you look at the scene around you and name colors without telling a story about them, you are already dissolving a little of the mist. You are not trying to solve your life. You are learning to see it. Seeing is not a philosophy. It is a posture of the heart. It is the willingness to say, perhaps I do not know, and perhaps that is safe. In a culture that rewards quick answers and strong opinions, this willingness can feel like weakness. But look closely and you will find it is strength of a different kind. The strength of a person who can stand on the shore and watch the tide turn without trying to push the ocean. In daily life, not seeing wears masks that look responsible and adult. It says, I must fix this right now or something terrible will happen. It says I must hold tightly to this identity or I will disappear. It says, I must make you agree with me, or else I am not safe. And the body believes these voices. The shoulders rise, the heart races. The breath gets shallow. The kind response is not to scold yourself for tightening, but to notice the exact second when tightening begins. The first flutter in the stomach, the first heat in the face, the first small urge to defend or explain. If you can find that second and sit beside it as you would sit beside a friend, something miraculous and ordinary happens. The fog thins, edges return to things, and the next step is no longer forced by fear. The Buddha did not offer a punishment for Naziing. He offered a lamp. The lamp is simple attention, the attention that feels the breath and hears a sound and acknowledges a thought as a thought. When you practice this attention, even for a few breaths, you are stepping out of the story that says you are the story. You do not need to perform a new personality. You need to rest in a new kind of honesty. Honesty says, I am experiencing a thought that I am not enough. It does not say I am not enough. Honesty says there is sadness moving through me. It does not say I am sadness. The difference is subtle and it changes everything. It gives you room, and in that room, the heart remembers a truth older than your name. Everything that appears also changes. The fog changes too. There will be days when clarity is easy, when the air is crisp and you can see the hills for miles. There will be days when the mind is wild, when fears and old memories crowd the path and the urge to run or grasp feels strong. On those days, not seeing loves to claim it is permanent. But you can answer softly with evidence drawn from your own body. You can feel the way one breath is not the same as the next, the way one sensation ripens and fades, the way a thought arrives with pomp and leaves without announcement. You do not have to convince yourself with ideas. Your skin and lungs and heartbeat will show you. And as you learn to trust those small proofs, the confidence that once belonged to the anxious story begins to belong to awareness itself. Awareness is generous. It makes space for confusion without becoming confused. It makes space for anger without becoming angry. It makes space for pain without becoming pain. This is not apathy. It is intimacy without entanglement, closeness without drowning. Imagine that you are standing in a room where a storm is depicted on the walls, a moving wallpaper of rain and thunder. If you press your face to the wall, you will feel soaked and endangered. If you take one step back, you will see the storm as an image passing before you. The room is still, the ground is still, you are still. Not seeing is pressing your face to the wall. Seeing is the step back. With practice, that step becomes natural. Before an email pulls you into an argument you did not need to have, you notice the pull and breathe 3 gentle breaths. Before an old insecurity asks you to prove yourself again by staying up late and overworking, you notice the ache in your chest and choose to place a hand there and rest. These tiny gestures are not small. They are the gates to another way of living. Over time, they form a thread you can follow through the day. Wake and breathe and feel your feet on the floor. Greet the morning with one simple question: what is here? Eat with attention to taste and texture. Speak with a pause between the impulse and the words. Listen with the curiosity that does not assume it knows. When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, meet yourself with the politeness you would offer a guest who has lost their way. Show them the chair by the window, pour them a glass of water, and let them settle before you ask them to explain. In the same spirit, we can gently examine the stories we swallow whole. Notice when you say always and never. Notice when you decide someone else's motives without asking them a single question. Notice when you treat the future as an already written sentence. Each time you notice, you remove one weight from the chain that drags you. Each time you notice, you demonstrate that seeing is available in this moment. Not after you have perfected yourself, not after you have earned rest. You are allowed to rest now, and from that rest, wisdom grows like grass after rain. And if you worry that clear seeing will make you passive, look again. When the fog lifts, you can finally choose with precision. You do not lash out because you are lost. You respond because you understand. You do not cling because you are scared. You hold what needs holding and you let go where letting go is love. The Buddha spoke of paths, and every path begins where your feet are. If this evening your feet are standing in a field of uncertainty, that is the perfect place to begin. Feel the ground, feel the breath. Let your eyes be soft. The world is still the world, but the mist that covered it thins as you welcome it rather than fight it. This is the quiet art of learning to see. It asks for patience more than brilliance, sincerity more than special talent. And it returns you to a kind of home you have always known, a clear, open awareness that holds your life exactly as it is, until the heart remembers it is safe to be here, and the body loosens, and what once felt like a closed room becomes a sky. If not seeing is the fog at dawn, then what moves beneath that fog are the quiet currents of intention, the small winds that ripple the surface before a wave forms. And in the Buddha's teaching, these are called the formations, the tendencies, the almost invisible habits that lean the mind and body toward action before a decision has been spoken aloud in consciousness. Think of the instant your phone buzzes and your hand is already halfway to it. The moment a familiar tone in someone's voice sets your jaw without your permission. The automatic yes you say when you are tired but afraid to disappoint. The way a remembered hurt wakes a rehearsed defense as if it was stored in the muscles of your throat. This living network of reflexes is not evil and not a mistake. It is how a human being learned to survive. And like paths worn through a field, they appear because you have walked them many times. And each time you walk them, their ground grows firmer and more inviting, until one day you cannot remember an evening in which you did not walk them again. To understand these formations is to slow down enough to feel a choice where there used to be none, to sense the tiniest stirring that precedes the act, and to meet that stirring with warmth rather than war. Because what is practiced grows, and if we practice war with ourselves, we will become experts at tension. While if we practice a gentle watchfulness, we will become citizens of a calmer country within. This is not a theory, it is as physical as the beat of your heart, as plain as the breath in your chest, as close as the tiny shift in your shoulders when an email subject line contains your name. The body is the first page where these intentions write themselves. And if you learn the alphabet of sensation, pressure, temperature, tingling, tightness, the rush and ebb of energy, you will learn to read what the mind is about to do before it does it. You can try this now by recalling a recent conversation that turned sharp and pausing at the exact second before you answered. Notice the heat in the face, the forward lean, the narrowing of attention, the urge to explain or to win. And imagine placing one hand on that urge as you would steady a small bird, not to trap it, but to let it know it is seen and safe. Often this simple gesture is enough to redirect a long river, for intention is pliable in its earliest stage, like clay that resists very little when first touched and only hardens after repeated firing in the kill of our reactions. We learn from childhood to move in certain ways, to earn love or avoid pain, to become the helpful one, the quiet one, the perfect one, the the funny one. And though these strategies may have protected us then, they can become tight clothes later, beautiful but too small. And we continue wearing them because they are familiar and because the world often praises the results without seeing the cost. The practice is to feel the cost without judgment, to feel the labor of always saying yes, the exhaustion of always performing competence, the loneliness of always holding anger beneath a polite surface, and to honor the intelligence that invented these moves while gently teaching the body a wider dance. Imagine the intention to interrupt rising in your throat like a spark. What is it asking for? Perhaps dignity, perhaps certainty, perhaps the wish to be recognized as real. And if you could offer dignity or recognition to yourself in that breath, would the spark need to become flame? Sometimes the most skillful action is a pause that looks like nothing from the outside but feels like opening a window in a stuffy room. One slow inhale that allows the nervous system to remember it is not cornered. The Buddha pointed to the way a thought becomes a will, and a will becomes a deed, and a deed becomes a habit, and a habit becomes a character. And this chain is not fate but momentum, and momentum can be guided with gentle hands. In the West, we often imagine willpower as a muscle that must strain, but here, will is more like steering, a steady hand on the oar that keeps the boat from crashing against the bank when the river bends. The hand learns by practice, the practice of noticing early, of making small corrections often, of celebrating the micro movements of kindness that others will never see. Like the moment you choose to put the phone down and truly taste your tea, the moment you put a note in your calendar that says breathe before meetings, the moment you answer a message tomorrow instead of at midnight because you are learning that rest is not laziness but wisdom. These little intentions accumulate in secret, and one day they bloom as a different life. The same job and the same street and the same kitchen, but a different weather in the heart. More room to move, more light in the corners. It also helps to get curious about what feeds your formations, because environments teach intentions the way gardens teach seeds. So ask what you consume with your eyes and ears. What speeds you up without need? What tightens your chest? Which rooms remind you to be small? Which friendships soften your jaw and invite your laughter? And from this curiosity you can make compassionate edits, not as punishment but as nourishment, replacing certain inputs with others, a walk for a scroll, a call with a friend for a third cup of coffee, 5 minutes of standing at the window for 5 minutes of news at night. None of this has to be perfect, because perfection is another formation, another old promise that you will be safe only when everything is under control, and safety rarely comes from control. It comes from intimacy with what is alive now. So when an old pattern runs fast, meet it like an old teacher who is strict but sincere, bow to the lesson it once gave, and ask whether it is still needed. And if it is not, bow again and step aside. Sometimes the formation is kindness itself, the natural impulse to help. And even this can become harm when it crosses the boundary of your strength. So you practice the intention to help wisely, to say yes from the whole body and no from the whole body. And you discover that honest boundaries are not walls against love, but channels for it. In this way, the field of intention becomes a place of artistry, where you can compose a day by choosing tempos and textures, a slow morning of silence, an afternoon of focused work bracketed by 3 breaths, an evening where you put gratitude in your hands like warm water and wash the mind with it. When you forget, as everyone forgets, the remembering itself is a small masterpiece, a tiny sunrise inside the hour, and you begin again without scolding. Because scolding is a formation too, and it has never once produced the gentleness you seek. The wisdom traditions often say that karma is intention, and this can sound mysterious until you watch how a single quiet motive colors everything that follows. A lunch eaten to soothe fear tastes different from a lunch eaten to nourish life. The same sandwich, the same chair, but one intention leaves you restless, and the other leaves you steadier. So each morning you can plant a simple motive. May I reduce harm today. May I be available to goodness. May I move more slowly than my fear. And then you let the day test this promise, not as a judge, but as a friend. And when you see where the promise was hard to keep, you do not declare failure. You simply adjust tomorrow's, or by a few degrees. Over months and years, degrees become distances, and you look back to find that the shore you live on is not the shore where you began. Perhaps the most tender part of this path is how quietly it works. No fireworks, no grand vows shouted to the sky. Only the humble rhythm of breath and noticing and choosing again. And the faith that the smallest kindness toward the seed of intention is never wasted. When night comes and the mind wants to rehearse its old symphony of worry, or replay a conversation for the 10th time, you can practice a different score. Feeling your weight supported by the bed, placing a hand on the belly, whispering not as command, but as lullaby. We are safe enough to rest. The emails will wait. The world can spin without us for a little while. And in that softness, you are training a very old pattern to trust a new home. In this way, the formations that once drove your day like hidden engines become companions you can greet and guide. And from their energy, you can build a life that does not waste itself on the friction of constant resistance. The river will still bend, storms will still visit, but the hand on the oar grows wise, and the boat learns the feel of the current. And you discover a secret that was never really hidden. Intention is the birthplace of freedom, and every breath is new enough to begin again. If formations are the winds beneath the surface, then consciousness is the clear lake that feels those winds and shows their ripples. The simple knowing that makes experience possible at all. Not a person inside your head, but the open space in which seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching, and thinking arise and pass. Imagine standing in a quiet gallery before a large white wall, and upon that wall moving images appear, color and sound and texture, and meaning, while the wall itself remains unmarked. And in the Buddhist teaching, consciousness is like that wall, receptive and bright, taking the imprint of each moment without being that imprint. And yet, when we forget the wall, we get lost in the film and believe we are the running figure or the storm or the closing door. What changes everything is the discovery that you can notice the wall while the film plays, that you can feel the raw sense of knowing itself, a soft, steady presence that is closer than thought and older than habit. You can try this now by listening to the nearest sound. Perhaps a distant car, the hum of a device, the breath moving at your nostrils, and notice that the sound is changing even as you notice it. And yet the knowing of the sound does not strain, it does not push or pull, it simply receives. Then shift to a sensation, the weight of your body on the chair or the warm place beneath your palm, and see again how the sensation has a life of its own, pulsing, spreading, fading while the knowing remains untroubled. This recognition is gentle and profound because it loosens the tight marriage between consciousness and its contents. The way a child learns they are not the weather, though they live under the same sky. In daily life, we rarely feel this difference because attention runs to whatever is loudest, and attention often confuses itself with awareness. But attention is a beam that narrows and points, while awareness is the room that includes. And if you cultivate the room, you can hold the beam kindly, letting it work for you instead of dragging you. The beauty of this is not theoretical, it is practical in the smallest moments. Like when a worry arrives and begins to occupy the whole mind with its urgent furniture. And if you can remember the room, you can notice the worry as one guest among others. A guest that speaks loudly but does not own the house. Consciousness is capacious, wide enough to hold fear and the feeling of the floor underfoot at the same time. Grief and the sound of rain, anger and the coolness of breath at the throat. And when you hold to truths like that, the heated one cools. Not because you denied it, but because you placed it in a truthful context. This is why mindfulness teachings invite the refrain, knowing, knowing, as if to point you back to the fact that the heart is able to know without contracting, to witness without freezing, to feel without drowning. And this capacity grows every time you practice it, the way a muscle grows with use. Though the movement here is not force, but surrender into clarity. Western culture sometimes speaks of an observer, a behind-the-scenes watcher who sits in the theater of the mind, but in this path we soften even that. Because the watcher is often just another thought wearing a clean shirt, another identity standing between you and life. And instead of building a watcher, we relax into watching. A verb instead of a noun, a living stream instead of a frozen self. And in that flowing ease, we begin to trust the intelligence of awareness itself. It is intelligent because it discriminates without hostility. This is a thought, this is a feeling, this is a sound, and through this simple sorting, the world becomes workable again. Not a single tangled knot, but many soft threads you can meet one by one. Consider the moment you wake at night and the mind starts listing problems. A quick parade of what-ifs that feel like facts at 2 a.m. And notice how the parade gets shorter when you name the medium as well as the message thinking. Thinking while at the same time you feel the blanket on your legs, the cool air at the tip of the nose, the weight of the head on the pillow. And a little more of the house lights come up in the theater so the monsters shrink into paper cutouts. Consciousness can host thinking without becoming thought, and this hosting is the medicine. In the chain of becoming, consciousness meets formations and contact to birth a specific episode of life, seeing a face, hearing a sentence, tasting a memory, and with each episode the mind is tempted to build a self around it. I am the one criticized. I am the one praised. I am the one ignored. But when you stand gently in the field of knowing, the episode is allowed to complete itself without the extra glue, and the sense of a heavy me relaxes into a light belonging, a simple participation in what is occurring. This spaciousness is not indifference, it is intimacy that does not cling. The way a kind friend listens to your story without trying to edit it. The 6 doors of experience: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind are constantly offering their gifts, and consciousness is the table on which they are placed. Some offerings are sweet, some sour, some plain, and the table holds them all. When we do not know ourselves as the table, we chase the sweet and fight the sour and starve on the plain, and the chase becomes exhaustion. When we do know the table, we taste what is here and respond with wisdom, which might mean savor, decline, or wait, and each response has room to breathe. Over time, a trust builds that you can meet more and more of life without armoring, because there is more and more room inside, and that room is not your achievement, but your nature uncovered. To support this discovery, you can weave small rituals into your day, invitations for awareness to notice itself, like beginning a meal by feeling the fork in your hand for 3 breaths, or opening your laptop by placing a hand on the heart and naming your intention, or stepping through thresholds, sidewalks, the moment you sit down by asking gently what is here, and letting the answer come through the senses before the story speaks. These humble gestures return you to the luminous ordinary, the simple fact that consciousness is always present and only asks that we notice it. In moments of pain, the practice is the same, though tenderness is needed, for pain narrows the world. And if you can widen it by counting 3 sensations that are not pain: the coolness on the skin, the support of the chair, the sound of a distant bird, you are not betraying the pain, but giving it a kinder neighborhood. And often, in a kinder neighborhood, pain behaves with more civility. Consciousness also meets memory and imagination, and these are powerful artists, painting futures and pasts so vivid that the present seems thin by comparison. But presence is not thin, it is just quiet. And if you give it a little attention, you will find it brimming with subtle detail, like the way light pulls on the table, or the faint taste in the mouth after tea, or the precise kindness in a friend's voice when they say your name. It is from these details that a true life is composed. Sometimes people fear that resting as awareness will make them detached. But detachment, in the unhelpful sense, comes from fear, from stepping back to avoid feeling, while resting as awareness is stepping into the heart of feeling with steadiness. And from that steadiness, wiser action arises. Not because you planned it perfectly, but because clarity carries its own ethics, like clean water finding its course downhill. Even in sleep and dreams, consciousness continues in subtler forms, stitching scenes from scraps of memory and mood. And when you wake, you can greet the remnants with the same friendliness, just images, just thoughts, and in doing so, you begin the day not inside a tangle, but on open ground. With practice, you may notice that awareness has a taste of kindness built in, a natural compassion for whatever appears, like sunlight that does not choose which leaf to warm. When grief comes, it is welcomed. When joy comes, it is welcomed. When boredom comes, it is welcomed, and the welcoming itself becomes home. From this home, you participate in the world with a light touch and a deep commitment, because nothing needs to be grasped to be loved, and nothing needs to be pushed away to be honored. The Buddha's map does not end with consciousness, but in every link, this simple knowing is the quiet companion. And the more you recognize it, the more freedom you have at each turn of the chain. Tonight, as you listen, perhaps lying down, feel the breath as a tide washing the shore of the body. Feel the places that touch the bed. Hear the faint sounds that share the room with you. And let each noticing be less a task and more a homecoming. A soft return to the wall behind the movie, the lake beneath the wind, the room that makes space for all your guests. When you forget, you remember again, and remembering is already the practice. Little by little, the heart learns that it can rest in knowing, and from that rest you will sleep more easily, not because you have solved everything, but because you have discovered the vastness in which solutions are not required for peace, only presence is. When we look closely at a human life, we find 2 companions walking side by side, the living body with its weight and warmth, and the subtle weave of mind with its feelings, perceptions, impulses, and knowing. In the Buddha's language, this companionship is name and form, the tender partnership that lets a simple moment become a world. And tonight we will wander gently through that world, as if strolling the shoreline where water meets sand. The soft give and take with each step, reminding us that neither side is complete without the other. Form is the body you can touch, bones and breath and heartbeat, the shape that tires and heals and ages, Name is the pattern of experiences that cannot be held in the hand but can be felt intimately, feeling that says pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Perception that recognizes patterns and gives them labels, calling this a cup and that a friend. Intention that leans the heart toward action like a compass turning toward north. And consciousness that lights each moment as it arrives. All of this together is the stage on which life appears, and when we forget this partnership, we suffer unnecessarily, as if blaming the ocean for being wet or the sand for being soft. When we remember, we can meet ourselves with more accuracy and more mercy. Consider how a simple sound enters through the ear, a form in motion, and how quickly the mind names it as praise or threat or nothing at all. Before the name, there is vibration. After the name, there is a story. In the space between, there is a chance to breathe and feel how the body responds. Shoulders lifting or dropping, stomach tightening or loosening. And in that noticing, the loop begins to loosen because we see that neither the body nor the mind is wrong, they are dancing. And what's needed is a rhythm of care. The body asks for posture and rest and nourishment. The mind asks for clarity and kindness. Both ask to be included. In many modern cultures, we have learned to exile one partner and overvalue the other, either living from the neck up as if we were a collection of opinions with a body attached like an afterthought, or chasing bodily comfort while ignoring the quiet needs of the heart. But the middle way is intimacy with both, a practice of listening to signals without panic and without denial. When you feel the first edge of fatigue around your eyes, that is form speaking. When you feel the subtle push to prove yourself after reading a message, that is name stirring. When you pause and place a hand on your cheek or chest, you bridge the two, sending a message through the skin that the mind can hear. We can slow down, we can choose, we can be gentle. The great tenderness of this link is that it shows us how experience condenses out of possibility. The way vapor becomes cloud and cloud becomes rain. Without a body, there is no place for sound to land, for taste to bloom, for warmth to comfort. Without the naming functions of mind, there is no meaning, no memory to guide the hand. Together they make a home. When you drink tea, the cup touches your lip. The tongue meets warmth and bitterness. The mind recognizes the blend you love. A quiet yes rises, and consciousness holds it all. When sorrow visits, the throat tightens, the eyes sting. A story forms around an absence, and again consciousness holds it all. If we can train ourselves to feel this assembling in real time, we can soften the points where unnecessary suffering sneaks in, especially at the moment when perception rushes to label and intention rushes to fix. Just because the chest tightens does not mean danger is present. Just because a thought says I am failing does not mean a verdict has been spoken by the universe. The body is offering ancient signals that once kept your ancestors alive, and the mind is offering patterns that once kept a younger you safe. Both deserve respect, but neither deserves the throne. To live this insight, we practice inhabiting form with friendliness, letting attention bathe the body without judgment, feeling the soles of the feet meet the floor in the morning as if greeting an old friend, sensing the quiet work of the lungs as they trade air for life, noticing the small releases that occur when you unclench your jaw or soften your gaze. At the same time, we practice caring for name by choosing the words we place on experience with precision and compassion. There is a difference between I am broken and a wave of sadness is moving through, between I am anxious and the body is experiencing alertness, between I can't and I need help. These small edits change the climate in which action happens. They do not deny pain, but frame it in a way that leaves the door open for skillful response. In relationships, name and form reveals itself in the smallest misunderstandings. A friend falls silent, the body feels a chill. Perception reaches for an old file labeled rejection, and intention prepares a defense. Before we know it, a story has turned a gap in communication into a verdict on our worth. To interrupt this, place the scene on the table of awareness and let both partners speak. The body says the chest is tight and the stomach is fluttering. Feeling says unpleasant. Perception says this resembles that old moment. Intention says protect. Then ask, with the kindness of a good host, what is actually known right now. You may discover that what is known is an unanswered message and a living, breathing body that could use a slower breath. From that simplicity, you can choose a simple act, send a clear question, drink some water, step outside to touch a tree. When the answer comes, it belongs to this moment, not to the ghost of a different season. In illness or pain, this link teaches patience. The body sends signals that change by the hour, and the mind is quick to interpret them as prophecies. You can practice offering the body the care it asks for medicine. Movement, stillness while offering the mind gentle labeling ache. Pulsing, worrying, planning in, you may find that suffering decreases even if pain remains. Because suffering is often the friction between what is and what the mind insists must be. By respecting form as teacher and name as narrator, you let reality be shared work rather than a battlefield. This partnership also guides creativity and work. A musician does not play with thought alone or with hands alone. The fingers learn, the ear names intervals, the heart feels, and consciousness conducts. A writer senses the weight of a sentence in the mouth before it is seen on the page. A parent picks up a child and knows without a word whether the cry means hunger or sleep. We are built for this integration. Meditation simply makes it conscious and trustworthy, so that in times of stress we can return to what we know, feel the body, name the truth, act with care. If you want a simple, daily ritual, try beginning and ending the day with a quiet scan that bows to both companions upon waking before touching your phone. Feel 5 anchors: feet, hands, face, belly, chest, then name 5 realities here. Breathing, safe enough. Grateful for one thing, willing to learn. At night, lying down, feel where the bed holds you. Name the day's 3 gifts and 3 places of tightness, and whisper to the system that carried you, thank you, you can rest. These are not magic words but consistent kindness, which is a better magic than the quick fixes we are sold. As you grow familiar with name and form, humility arises naturally. You see how often perception guesses, how often intention acts on incomplete maps, how often the body tells the truth before the mind catches up. Instead of embarrassment, let this be relief. You do not need to know everything to be faithful to the next breath. You only need to include the partners who are already here. From inclusion grows trust, and from trust grows a steadier life. Storms will still pass over the field, but a field that is rooted and well-watered weathers the season and greens again. Your field will too, with each gentle visit to the body and each precise, compassionate name you give to the minds, whether the partnership strengthens, and the chain of reactivity that once dragged you begins to look more like a string you can play. Sometimes a lullaby for sleep, sometimes a hymn to courage. Always a reminder that you are not the storm or the string alone, but the living musician who can pause, listen, and choose the next note with care. Imagine a house with 6 doors that open to the world, and every moment of your day is a breeze passing through one door or another. The eyes receive light and color. The ears receive vibration. The nose receives scent. The tongue receives taste. The body receives touch and temperature and movement. And the mind receives ideas, images, and memories. In the Buddha's language, these doorways are the bases for contact. And through them, 1,000 small meetings happen, each one planting the seed of feeling and choice. When we forget the house, we are swept along by whatever wind is strongest, pulled into the next video, the next headline, the next memory, and life begins to feel like a hallway without a home. When we remember, we discover a quiet art called guarding the doors, not as a guard who scowls and forbids, but as a host who knows who to welcome, how long to let them stay, and when to close the door so the house can rest. This art is gentle and immediate, and it begins with the simple recognition that sense input is food. And as with any food, quality and portion matter. If we feed the eyes with constant speed, the ears with constant noise, the mind with constant alarm, the nervous system does not have time to digest. An undigested experience becomes restlessness. You can feel this after a long scroll, the vague ache behind the eyes, the scattered attention that cannot settle on breath or book or friend. The doors have been left wide open on a windy day, and the house is messy. The solution is not to condemn the wind, but to learn the hinges and the latches, to know how to set a window ajar for fresh air, and how to close it when night asks for quiet. This is what sense restraint means in a humane way. Not deprivation, but design. Not Puritan suspicion of pleasure, but a gardener's love of seasons. There is a time to savor, a time to turn away, a time to let the field lie fallow so sweetness can grow again. Begin with the eyes, because much of modern life arrives through screens. A steady river of images angled to capture the reflexes of desire and fear. Notice how quickly the eyes tire when they never touch distance. How the muscles soften when you look out a window and let the horizon hold you. A simple ritual can reshape your day. Each hour, stand, release the shoulders, and let the eyes rest on something far away. A roofline, a cloud, the line where the wall meets the ceiling. This is not a productivity hack. It is a kindness to the gate that works the hardest. Let the eyes also feast on simple beauties that do not demand more from you. A bowl of fruit, a green plant, the way steam rises from a cup. When the eyes are nourished by gentleness, the mind is less hungry for stimulation that burns and does not satisfy. The ears are doors to mood. Sound reaches places words cannot. Think of how a kind voice calms you, or how a certain hum frays your nerves. In a world that layers sound upon sound traffic, devices, voices in rooms and in your pocket, silence becomes medicine. Try giving your ears a few doses of quiet each day, the kind you can find by turning off what can be turned off, stepping outside, or even listening to the quiet within a sound. You can sit and hear not only the song, but the space around the notes, the release after the door clicks shut, the dying echo of your own footsteps. This listening is a way of bathing the nervous system. It teaches the heart that it does not need to brace. Then, when you do choose music or speech, choose what aligns with the climate you want inside your house. A gentle playlist at night is not indulgence, but atmosphere. An atmosphere is the soil in which intentions grow. The nose often goes unnoticed until a scent startles memory awake. Smell is a thread back to childhood kitchens and summer rain and people we miss. You can use this door with wisdom by keeping a few quiet anchors near, a drop of lavender on the pillow, the clean honesty of fresh air through a cracked window, the scent of tea leaves warming a cup. When the day is hard, lift the cup and inhale before you sip. Give the mind a moment of nourishment that asks for nothing in return. Small rituals like this are the opposite of luxury. They are accessible forms of kindness that teach the body it is safe to soften. The tongue is the door that often becomes a carnival. When stress rises, we reach for quick comfort, and there is no need for shame in this. The body seeks sweetness when the heart is tired. The practice is to bring awareness to the act of tasting, too slow enough that the tongue receives what it is asking for, and so does not need to beg for a second round out of absence. Eat one square of chocolate as if it were your first. Feel it melt. Notice the warmth that spreads through the chest. Thank the hands that brought it to you. When you eat a meal, put the phone away so the mind can taste alongside the tongue. Gratitude is a seasoning that makes simple food feel abundant. Over time, you will sense what foods create steadiness for you and which ones borrow clarity from tomorrow. This is not a moral drama, but a relationship. You learn what brings you home. The body door is the largest. It is a sea of signals, pressure, movement, touch, heat, cold that can ground us or scatter us depending on how we meet them. Touch with intention can reset a whole day. Press the soles of your feet into the floor and wait for the echo of contact to rise into your legs. Wrap your arms around your ribs and feel the firm boundary of form. Place one palm on the belly and one on the chest and breathe as if you were rocking a child. These gestures speak to the oldest parts of the brain, parts that cannot be convinced by arguments but will relax when they receive clear evidence of support. Build small anchors into your environment that invite the body to feel safe. A weighted blanket on the couch, a soft sweater on the back of the chair, a chair by the window where morning light can touch your skin. The body is honest and forgiving. If you give it a place to rest, it forgives 1,000 hurried hours. The mind as a sense base is perhaps the most mysterious and the most demanding. It receives not only the present, but also the ghosts of past and future, and it can flood the house with guests who were not invited. Guarding this door does not mean shutting it. It means curating what you feed it and how long you let certain visitors stay. Notice the difference between reading something that enriches your understanding and consuming a loop that inflames and leaves you empty. Notice how a single sentence of appreciation spoken to yourself can change the flavor of a morning. Notice how 10 minutes of unstructured staring into space can return a freshness to thought that 2 hours of forcing cannot. The mind needs blankness, the way soil needs fallow. Give it small fields of nothing and watch the green return. All 6 doors are connected. When one is overwhelmed, the others can help. If the mind is stormy, come back to the feet. If the eyes are tired, let the ears rest in a simple sound. If the body is buzzing, bring the tongue to a warm sip. If the ears are crowded, offer the eyes a tree. In this way you compose your inner weather with care, not as a tyrant forcing calm, but as a musician balancing instruments. Throughout the day you can weave tiny practices to remember the house. When you cross a threshold, take one conscious breath. When you open a screen, decide the intention before the page loads. When a conversation ends, feel your hands and let them unclench. When evening comes, dim the lights and lower the volume and tell the senses we are preparing for rest. Over weeks, these gestures become a rhythm, and rhythm becomes refuge. You do not need to get it perfect. Doors squeak, winds change, guests arrive unannounced. The point is not control, but intimacy. You know your house. You care for it. You invite beauty and kindness through its doors. And you learn how to say enough when enough has been reached. This is how the chain of reactivity weakens at the gate. How contact can lead to ease instead of compulsion. How a day can end not in depletion but in a quiet gratitude for the world that visited and the home that welcomed it wisely. Contact is the soft click when world meets sense, the instant a sound becomes heard, a color becomes seen, a thought becomes known, and in that instant, a spark leaps from possibility to experience. It is so small that we usually miss it, like the faint tap of a seed on the soil before the sprout breaks through. Yet this tiny event begins a whole weather system inside us, setting the stage for feeling and wanting and doing. To live more freely, we learn to feel the click, to notice the very first hello between the guest at the door and the host within. And we practice greeting that hello with warmth instead of rush. Imagine your day as a sequence of gentle knocks, the light on the kitchen counter, the tone in a colleague's voice, the message preview on your phone, the memory that rises as you pass a street you once knew well. Each knock is neutral at birth, simply contact, and then meaning blooms. And often meaning blooms according to yesterday's garden. If yesterday planted worry, today's contact finds worry ready to climb it like a vine. The training is not to varnish life in positive paint, but to see the order of things. Knock, feel, lean, and to offer a breath between the first and the second. You can try this now by listening for the quietest sound in the room and pausing right at the moment you identify it. There is a shimmer there, a microsecond in which knowing happens but before the mind declares like or dislike. And if you rest in that shimmer for even one breath, you give your nervous system proof that speed is not required. This proof matters because so much suffering is born from momentum. The way a small nudge becomes a push and a push becomes a shove. Contact is the nudge, and when you learn its character, you become a friend to your future. Think of how a conversation turns when an old wound is touched. The contact may be a simple phrase, an innocent glance, yet in a flash the body tightens and the heart prepares for a familiar battle. If you can sense the very first tightening, the throat narrowing by a hair, the shoulders drifting toward, the ears, you can place a hand there and breathe as if speaking to a skittish animal. Easy now, I see you, we're okay. This kindness does not erase the history, but it keeps the present from being swallowed by it. Contact thrives on honesty, so we let the body tell the truth without building a prison around it. Yes, the belly fluttered when the phone chimed. Yes, the heat rose when the meeting began. Yes, the eyes pricked with tears when the old song played. Noting these facts with soft attention allows feeling to arise on clean ground later, rather than on the rubble of denial or self. In this way, contact becomes less of a trigger and more of a bell, something that calls you to attend rather than to react. The Buddha's map is tender here, because it suggests that the world is not attacking us so much as touching us, and that our job is to learn touch, to refine our sense of where we are open and where we brace. Sometimes the most caring move is to reduce unnecessary contacts for a while. The way we dim lights at evening to tell the body it can rest. Closing a tab is not cowardice. Stepping outside before answering is not avoidance. These are ways of tuning the instrument so it can play the next note clearly. At the same time, we can cultivate nourishing contacts on purpose. The warmth of a cup between the palms, the feeling of socks against the floor, the view of a tree changing through the seasons, a voice that speaks with kindness. Such contacts feed the heart in ways that complicated strategies often cannot. Like good soup, they are simple and they work. And when difficulty does knock, we can meet it with a choreography. We practice when the waters are calm. Notice the point of touch. Name it gently as touching, seeing, hearing, thinking. Feel the body's first echo. Let a breath move through. And only then consider a response. This choreography is small enough to carry into a crowded day. It does not require a cushion or a quiet room, only a willingness to pause in the doorway of the moment. Often the pause is all that's needed, because feeling that arrives after a pause behaves differently from feeling that arrives under pressure. A paused feeling has room. It tells the truth without shouting. It asks for care without demanding a solution. And wanting that grows from such feeling is wiser, less likely to tighten into grasping. In this sense, contact is a teacher of proportion. It reminds us that life comes one touch at a time, not as a monolith we must conquer. When grief visits, the contact might be the empty chair at breakfast. When joy visits, the contact might be the sun warming your forearm through a window. To say yes to the real shape of these touches is to live a human life fully. Not always comfortably, but fully, which turns out to be the most reliable path to deep comfort. For sleep, this understanding is precious, because insomnia often begins as a cascade from a tiny contactor sound in the street. A thought about tomorrow into a wide-awake defense. If, when the first sound touches the ear, you whisper inside hearing, and then feel the weight of your body on the bed and the easy sway of breath, you let the chain be light. The sound becomes part of the night rather than a signal of danger. The thought becomes a cloud rather than a contract. Practice this 2 or 3 times, and the body learns that contact can be allowed, that not every knock requires someone to leap from the chair. Contact also has a social wisdom. In relationships, we can learn to declare our sensitive doors as an act of intimacy rather than as a set of rules. Telling a friend or partner, "I get overwhelmed when too many things touch my mind at once. Can we slow down?" Or, "I hear sharpness in that tone, even when it's not meant. Would you try softer words?" Speaking like this is vulnerable and skillful. It moves us from blaming the other to understanding the mechanics of meeting. And many conflicts soften when the mechanics are honored. For creativity, contact is the root of inspiration. Paying exquisite attention to first touches, the click of a pen, the faint smell of rain, the way a word feels in the mouth tunes, the instrument that receives the world. From that tuning, authentic work emerges. For ethics, contact is the birthplace of compassion. It's hard to be unkind when you are aware of the exact place where someone else's pain touches you, because that awareness dissolves the distance that usually makes cruelty easy. You find yourself speaking more slowly, placing your words as if setting down fragile cups. And when you fail, as all humans fail, you can trace the moment backward and find the place where contact spun into speed. Then plan a small adjustment for next time: a breath at the doorway, a glance out the window before you answer, a hand on the heart when the email pings. None of this is dramatic, and that is its beauty. Drama loves the fire already burning. Wisdom loves the spark. Since life will continue to touch you in ways you cannot predict, let your practice be modest and faithful. Greet the knock. Feel the first echo. Breathe and choose. Over months, the house of your being becomes calmer, not because the world stopped knocking, but because you became a gracious host. And guests pleasant and unpleasant learn your rhythm. They enter, they bow, they stay as long as truth requires, and they leave. You straighten the flowers on the table, Wash the cups, and sit by the window with the evening in your chest, grateful to be a home where contact becomes connection and connection becomes peace. Feeling is the first color that appears when contact meets consciousness, the immediate tint that says pleasant, unpleasant, or neither. And though this coloring can seem small, it often steers the whole ship. A word lands and there is a warm bloom. A traffic horn sounds and there is a tightening. A blank hallway echoes and there is a grayness that feels like nothing at all. And from that bloom or tightening or grayness, the mind begins to build plans and defenses and desires. To understand feeling in this gentle way is to realize that much of our day is guided by split-second weather, and that learning to feel the weather without being driven by it is a quiet, liberating art. Pleasant feeling is easy to love and easy to overvalue. It invites leaning forward. One more bite, one more scroll, one more minute of praise. And if we are not attentive, the leaning becomes grasping, and the grasping becomes a knot. Unpleasant feeling is easy to fear and easy to fight. It invites pushing away, changing the subject, tightening the jaw, looking for someone to blame, and if we are not attentive, the pushing becomes a wall, and the wall becomes loneliness. Neutral feeling seems harmless, but can be the most seductive of all. A flatness that invites drifting, mindless habits, hours that slide by on a couch of vague dissatisfaction. The practice is not to judge any of these, but to recognize them as currents in the same river and to learn how to float wisely. Imagine the first seconds of tasting your morning tea. There is warmth and a quiet sweetness, pleasant appears. And if you rest your attention there with gratitude, the moment satisfies. If instead you rush to fix the pleasant in place, to chase the same first sip again and again while your mind runs ahead to the next stimulation, satisfaction fades even as the cup is full. Now imagine the sound of an email arriving with a complaint inside. Unpleasant appears. And if you can feel the exact spot where the unpleasant shows up the throat, the chest, the belly, and let one breath widen that spot. The feeling is held and it does not need to become panic or anger. And when the afternoon arrives with its soft neutrality, neither warm nor cold, notice the pull toward aimless distraction and ask the body what small nourishment it would like. A short walk, a glass of water, a stretch by the window. And see how neutral becomes subtly pleasant when met with care. This is the heart of working with feeling. We give each tone company, not commands, and in good company, even difficult tones behave more gently. Many of us were trained to treat feelings as problems or as proofs. A pleasant feeling was proof that we were winning at life. An unpleasant feeling was proof we were failing. A neutral feeling was proof that life was boring and we needed to add spice. The wiser approach is to treat feelings as messages about the nervous system in this moment, not about your worth, not about reality forever. Pleasant says the system is experiencing ease or reward. Unpleasant says the system is registering threat or loss. Neutral says the system is in a low arousal zone that can restore or dull depending on how we meet it. When you listen in this way, feeling becomes information rather than orders. The body offers a reading, you thank it for its service, and you choose your response with more space. In time you will learn your own signature patterns, perhaps. Pleasant often arrives in the chest as warmth and in the face as a softening around the eyes. Perhaps unpleasant arrives as heat in the cheeks or pressure in the temples. Perhaps neutral arrives as a distance between you and the world. Learning these signatures is like learning the weather of a coastal town. You pack a sweater not because you are anxious, but because you are wise. One of the most powerful skills is to break the chain between feeling and automatic reaction by finding a simple anchor. For many people, the breath at the nostrils or the rise and fall of the belly is enough. After contact, as feeling colors the scene. Place attention lightly on the anchor and name the tone with the humility of a good scientist: pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. Then return to the anchor for a breath or two. This tiny ritual, practiced dozens of times in a day, rewires the habit loops. Pleasant is still pleasant, but it is no longer a command to chase. Unpleasant is still unpleasant, but it is no longer a command to attack or flee. Neutral is still neutral, but it is no longer a command to abandon the moment. When the mind argues that naming is too small to matter, test it directly during a conversation. Notice when a compliment lands and creates a small lift. Say inside lifting, pleasant, and watch how you can enjoy the lift without promising anything to it. Notice when a criticism lands and creates a small drop. Say dropping, unpleasant, and watch how the drop is allowed but does not remove your stability. Notice when a pause stretches and creates a drift. Say drifting, neutral, and bring your attention back to the person's eyes or to the sensation of your feet. These are not tricks to avoid life, but methods to meet it. Sleep rests on this link, because the chain from contact to craving often roars strongest at night. In the quiet, small feelings feel large. An itch becomes an alarm, a memory becomes a verdict, a neutral space becomes an emptiness to fill with screens. Try a simple evening practice built around feeling tones. After you lie down, scan the body and choose 3 places that feel even slightly pleasant, perhaps the warmth of the blanket on the shins, the softness where the pillow meets the ear, the gentle rhythm of breath in the belly, and dwell with each for 3 breaths. Then choose 3 places that feel unpleasant, perhaps the low ache in the back, the restlessness in the hands, the tightness at the forehead, and meet each with 3 slower breaths as if pouring warm water over a knot. Finally, find 3 neutral sensations: the quiet hum in the room, the stillness in the toes, the weight of the sheets, and rest in their simplicity. This rotation teaches the nervous system that all tones are safe to experience and none require frantic solutions. Often, without effort, the body slides into sleep when it no longer needs to manage or avoid feeling. In relationships, honoring feeling tones allows honesty to replace drama. Instead of saying, "You make me anxious," which puts blame in another's hands, you can say, "When I hear that tone, my stomach tightens. Unpleasant is present. Can we slow down?" And suddenly, the conversation is about the mechanics of human experience rather than about villains and victims. This shift invites cooperation because most people can respond to a body truth. They might soften their voice, clarify their intention, or share their own feeling tone, and small concessions of kindness are made more easily in the shared light of awareness. Similarly, naming pleasant aloud is not trivial. To tell a friend, "I feel warmth," when you text just to check in, is to water the roots of connection. Creativity is colored by feeling as well, and learning to befriend neutral is a secret door. Much art grows not from fireworks of pleasure or storms of pain, but from the plain days when nothing dramatic is happening and the mind is free to notice a small shadow on the table or the rhythm of footsteps on a stair. If we cannot tolerate neutral, we will rush past the quiet details that become the seed of songs and poems and ideas. Practice sitting for 5 minutes with a neutral object, a stone, a mug, the shape of a tree, and let the eyes and hands and breath explore without evaluation. Watch as neutral becomes subtly pleasant, a companionship with the ordinary. From such companionship, work that feels honest can emerge. There is also a compassionate ethics to feeling. When we witness another person's pain, our bodies register unpleasant, and often we rush to fix, to stop our own discomfort. If we can notice the tone first and stabilize ourselves with a breath, we can offer help that is tuned to their need rather than to our escape. This small pause is the difference between advice that lands like a stone and presence that lands like a hand. At the social level, media often spikes pleasant and unpleasant to keep attention. And if we do not notice the tones, we can be led into cycles of outrage and craving that leave us thin and tired. Building a daily habit of asking what tone is present as I consume this helps restore choice. We might still read the news, but we do so with a grounded body and a plan for recovery afterward: a walk, a call, a minute of looking at the sky. Over time, you may discover a soft joy in the very act of feeling, a contentment that is not dependent on the tone itself, but on your intimacy with it. This is not a distant philosophical point, but a lived sweetness, the pleasure of a warm mug on a cold morning, the poignancy of a tear that honors a loss, the simple okayness of sitting quietly at the end of a long day. The heart grows trustworthy, not because life only brings easy moments, but because you have learned to welcome the messenger without making them king. And when the messenger brings trouble, as will happen, you can hold the trouble without becoming it, saying softly, unpleasant is here, and so is the breath. Unpleasant is here, and so is the support of the chair. Unpleasant is here, and so is my capacity to care. In that companionship, the next link in the chain wanting does not have to grip you. It can be met, and often it will soften before it is born. This is the quiet freedom of feeling, not the power to choose what arrives, but the dignity to choose how to host it, and to find, again and again, that hosting with tenderness changes the whole house. Craving is the lean forward of the heart, the small tilt toward the next moment that promises more relief, more sweetness, more certainty, and it often begins so quietly we mistake it for simple aliveness. A pleasant feeling arrives, a warm sip of coffee, a kind message. The soft weight of a blanket tanned, somewhere inside a hand reaches out to repeat it, to make a home of that exact temperature and tone, to hold the flicker still. An unpleasant feeling arrives, a sharp email, a knot in the shoulder, a memory with thorns, and the same hand reaches out in a different way, to push the experience away or to hurry past it into the imagined safety of later. Even neutral feeling, that grey hallway of the afternoon, can invite craving's cousin, restlessness, the urge to stir the pot just to feel something vivid. In the Buddha's map, this leaning is called craving, and it wears many costumes. The desire for sense pleasures we already know, the desire to become a better, safer, more admired version of ourselves, and the desire to not be, to erase the uncomfortable parts of our experience or disappear into sleep or screens. None of these costumes are signs of failure. They are human attempts to care for a system that wants to feel good and avoid harm. The trouble begins when the care becomes compulsion, when the hand that reaches forgets it can also relax, when the mouth of wanting is never allowed to close and taste what is already here. To recognize craving is not to scold yourself, but to hear a thirst speaking. Thirst asks for water. It does not require a dam across the river. So the practice with craving is the practice of offering water, offering enoughness, while training the hand to release its urgency. You can sense craving by its texture. It narrows attention round an object, and promises that object will complete you. It makes time feel thin and future-heavy. It quickens the mind and tenses the body, especially around the eyes, jaw, and belly. A good experiment is to catch the first second of reach, the micro moment when the thought appears, if only I had that snack. That reply, that approval, that purchase, I could relax. And to let the body register the promise without obeying it immediately. Place a hand on the belly and breathe as if giving the promise room to echo. Ask with curiosity what the body is hoping the thing will do. Often the answer is simpler than the advertisement. Not excitement, but soothing. Not status, but belonging. Not escape, but rest. When you hear the true wish, you can meet it at the right depth. Instead of scrolling for connection, you text one honest sentence to a friend. Instead of another cup, you step outside and let a tree anchor your eyes. Instead of reinventing yourself at 11 p.m., you place both hands on your chest and say aloud the words you wanted the world to say. I see you, you've done enough for today. This is not austerity. It is accurate care, and accurate care weakens craving because craving thrives on misdiagnosis. There is a gentleness in naming the forms craving takes without shame. Sometimes it is the hunger for sweetness, sometimes for praise, sometimes for certainty in a world that does not offer it. Sometimes it is the wish to rewind the past or fast forward through the present. On other days, it is a fog that wants to dissolve into sleep, yet keeps you awake. In all cases, the medicine begins with allowing feeling to ripen without grasping it or shoving it away. The body knows how to digest sensations if we do not constantly add more spice. When pleasant visits, savor it the way you would listen to a friend fully, without planning the next fix. When unpleasant visits, tend it the way you would hold a fevered child steadily, without negotiating with the thermometer. When neutral visits, treat it as a meadow, not a void, and you will start to see subtle flowers you miss when you rush. The promise that rest is inside the moment, not beyond it, becomes real by practice more than by belief. For many of us, the craving to become is the most polished and socially rewarded version. It wears the mask of self-improvement. It uses the language of growth, and it often carries genuine aspiration. Yet under its noble coat, it can hide a relentless message. Who you are is not quite enough. You may hear it in the evening as the mind writes a new plan for a new you, or in the morning as the mirror becomes a courtroom. To work wisely with this form of craving, we can bless the part that wants goodness and guide it into forms that do not feed the ache of never enough. We choose aims that are rooted in care rather than in fear, like strengthening the body so it can carry joy, learning a skill to offer service, simplifying a schedule to be present for love. We pair ambition with self-compassion, checking that the path itself nourishes rather than starves. And we make room for the radical experiment of ending a day with the sentence, "It was enough to be human." Repeated softly, this sentence loosens the knot around the heart and teaches the nervous system a new home key. The craving to not be is trickier because it can masquerade as relief. You will feel it as the sudden wish to vanish from a hard conversation, the heavy blanket of "let me sleep through this life," the impulse to numb with whatever is nearby. Meeting this craving requires courage and tenderness in equal measure. We do not force ourselves to endure overwhelm without help. We reduce the load where we can, and we offer ourselves steady anchors that keep us from slipping under. A warm shower felt moment by moment can be a handrail. The cadence of a lullaby voice in a guided meditation can be a handrail. A pet's weight against your leg can be a handrail. We collect these handrails not as escapes, but as bridges back to aliveness. The more practiced we become at returning, the less terrifying aliveness feels. The less terrifying it feels, the less urgently we need to disappear. None of this work asks you to give up delight. In fact, the opposite happens. As grasping softens, pleasure becomes more itself clear, bright, and enough in its own season. Eating is tastier when it is eating, not auditioning as comfort and distraction and identity. Music is sweeter when it is listened to with the whole body, not used as a screen for fear. Praise lands warmly when it comes, and it does not leave a hole when it goes. Even desire is welcomed as a weather that brings color to the sky, a warm wind that can be felt and enjoyed without trying to bottle it. To cultivate this way of relating, some people place small pauses before and after moments of pleasure, like frames around a painting. Before the first bite, one breath and a thank you. After the last bite, one breath and a soft letting go. These frames teach the heart that it can touch and release, and they make the art inside the frame more vivid. In the rhythm of an ordinary day, craving often spikes around transitions, finishing work, opening the fridge, getting into bed. It helps to design tiny rituals that greet these thresholds with dignity. When work ends, close the laptop with both hands and rest your palms on its cool surface for 3 breaths, telling the mind we are allowed to stop. When you open the fridge, place a hand on your belly before you decide, asking what would truly nourish me. When you get into bed, feel the sheets against your skin and say, I am safe enough to rest. These sentences are not magic spells, but truth-telling practices. The body trusts repeated truths over time. From that trust, craving has less reason to shout. In relationships, craving often aims at other people's attention, apology, or change, and while asking for what you need is healthy, pinning your peace entirely on another's response keeps you thirsty. One gentle shift is to name the underlying need in your own presence. First, see me, understand me, stay with me, and to offer yourself a first sip. Place a hand on your heart and say, I see you. Write a page that understands you. Sit beside your own experience for 5 minutes without fixing. Then ask the other person with clarity rather than desperation. Your request grows lighter without becoming less sincere, and lightness invites kindness. At the social level, whole industries are built on awakening and sustaining craving. You do not have to fight them like a lone hero. You can choose a simple way of consuming that protects your nervous system. Fewer inputs, more depth, scheduled windows, rather than constant grazing. You can keep company with people who are practicing sufficiency, who delight in simple meals and honest talk and ordinary afternoons. Community is an antidote to craving because shared satisfaction is one of the most reliable forms of wealth. For sleep, this link is pivotal. Many long nights are fueled by the craving for control, for solutions at 2 a.m., for a different body with different thoughts. When you notice the mind leaning forward in bed, wanting tomorrow to arrive already solved, try the practice of softening into the exact sensations of now the pillow under the ear, the slow tide of breath, the space between sounds. Whisper enough for tonight, not as resignation but as trust in a larger rhythm. If the mind argues, offer it a simple task. Count 10 breaths, feeling the belly rise and fall without hurry, and begin again when you lose count. Repetition is a cradle. Eventually, the body remembers it, knows how to sleep when it is not being auditioned for perfection. Over months, as you treat craving like thirst and offer water instead of war, a quieter joy emerges, the joy of sufficiency. It is not glamorous, and it is deeply beautiful. It tastes like finishing a meal and feeling done, like walking away from an argument before winning because peace matters more. Like looking at a sunset without taking a photo because not everything needs to be kept. This joy is shy at first, and then it becomes your friend. With such a friend beside you, the chain that used to pull you softens into a ribbon you can tie around the day. You live less at the edge of reach and more at the center of receive. You become, slowly and truly, a person who trusts that what is here can be met, and that what is enough has always been nearer than the next thing. Clinging is the closing of the hand around experience. The move from I like this to I must have this, from I dislike that to I must never meet it again, and from the soft sense of being someone to the rigid defense of a fixed me. It follows craving like a shadow that forgot it is made of light. And because its grip feels protective, we rarely notice how heavy it is until we set it down. The Buddha spoke of clinging to sense pleasures, to views and opinions, to rules and roles as if they alone could save us, and to self the image in the mirror of the mind that we polish and guard. Each form is understandable, each begins as care, and each can harden into a small prison if left unquestioned. You can feel clinging in the body as a tightening around the eyes and jaw, a forward lean in the chest, a resistance in the belly, a readiness to argue or retreat. You can sense it in language. Never should Mastor in the way a story narrows until no alternative can enter. The practice is not to shame the hand that closes. The practice is to notice it closing and offer it a safer place to rest. When pleasure arrives and the hand wants to keep it, we can savor without sealing, tasting fully and then breathing out as an act of generosity. When pain arrives and the hand wants to push, we can hold the boundary we need while softening the inner fight, naming the truth without making an enemy of reality. And when the self-image steps forward, demanding applause or defense, we can bow to the human wish to matter and then widen the frame, instead of I am only this role. I am also the one who witnesses roles come and go. In this widening, clinging loosens, and with that loosening a fresh current moves beneath the day. Becoming is the trail that clinging lays down, the way repeated grip shapes a landscape where certain selves keep being born, sometimes for minutes, sometimes for years. Cling to praise and you become the hungry performer who cannot rest. Cling to grievance and you become the courtroom where every interaction is tried. Cling to identity too tightly and you become brittle in the wind, cracking where you could bend. Becoming is not punishment, it is momentum embodied, the nervous system learning from what we rehearse. The good news is that gentleness also becomes, that kindness practiced becomes a character you can lean on, that small releases now become a wider freedom later. Imagine two paths diverging at hundreds of micro moments each day. One where the hand closes around a thought or feeling and freezes it into me, mine, must. Another where the hand feels the urge and rests on the belly, lets the breath pass through, and asks softly what is needed that would reduce harm and increase truth. Step by step, the second path forms a different person living the same life, a person who can enjoy without chasing, decline without hostility, protect without hardening, and sleep without bargaining with the night. To work with clinging to pleasures, notice the aftertaste. When you extend a pleasure past its natural season, it stops tasting like joy and begins tasting like control. A gentle ritual of framing helps. One breath before, one breath after. One quiet thanks, one willing release. The frame makes art out of the moment, and teaches the hand to open without losing love. To work with clinging to views, practice listening in a way that is more interested in understanding than in winning. Feel what happens in the body when a different opinion enters, often a micro-flinch, and breathe there. You can keep your discernment without the armor of certainty. In fact, discernment sharpens when the armor is set down because fear is no longer fogging the lens. To work with clinging to rules and roles, remember their purpose. They are boats to cross a river, not shrines to worship. Let your ethics be alive, guided by compassion and wisdom rather than by pride in correctness. Praise the boat, then notice when it has reached the opposite bank and it is time to walk. Clinging to self is the subtlest, because the story of me seems like the ground beneath our feet. Yet if you look kindly, you will find many selves appearing and fading all day. The efficient manager self at 10 a.m., the tender friend at lunch, the solitary reader in the evening. Which one is the real you? The question relaxes when you notice that awareness hosts them all, and that the most reliable goodness in you, care, clarity, courage, does not require a rigid identity to express itself. This recognition is not an erasure, but a relief. You can use names and roles as tools, not as cages. You can let feedback refine your work without letting it define your worth. When shame tries to glue you to a single moment in your past, you can answer with present moment evidence. This breath moves. This feeling moves. This thought moves. I move too. The glue softens in the solvent of honest seeing. Becoming often gathers speed at thresholds, entering the house after work, opening a message, lying down in the dark. Design those thresholds with care. Leave shoes and the day's identity by the door and step in as a beginner. Pause before you read and ask what self is about to be born if I hurry, what self could be born if I slow. When you lie down, place one hand on the belly and one on the heart and name the self you choose to nourish now. The sleeper, the one who trusts enough to rest. These small acts are not theatrical, they are architectural. They build rooms inside you where certain selves are welcomed and others are thanked and asked to wait until morning. In relationships, clinging shows up as the demand that another person regulate our entire weather, that they never change or disappoint, that they mirror our views perfectly. Love can hold requests and boundaries, but it withers under possession. Practice offering warmth that does not trap. I want your happiness, including the forms of it I do not control. When fear of loss tightens the hand, acknowledge the fear and love at the same time. Saying inside, I care for you and I will not turn you into an object to calm me. Paradoxically, this loosening often deepens intimacy because people relax where they are not being held as proof of something. And when a relationship must end, loosening helps grief move. It hurts, but the hurt is clean, not multiplied by the war of refusal. At the social level, whole economies monetize, clinging and manufacture becoming, be the new you. By the missing piece, belong by consuming. The counterculture is quiet sufficiency. Keep what is enough. Repair, share. Let identity be a garden rather than a logo. Find communities where people practice these values not as slogans but as habits. Cooking, walking, listening, creating without constant exhibition. Community softens the illusion that you must hold yourself together alone, because hands that hold gently can sometimes rest in other hands. Working life benefits deeply from this understanding. Notice how clinging to outcome tightens the process until creativity can barely breathe. Shift attention to the quality of presence you bring to each step. Care in the email, clarity in the plan, kindness in the meeting, precision in the craft. Outcomes still matter, but they become fruits rather than idols. When setbacks come, as they do, loosen the hand around the story I am failing and ask which self is being invited, now the learner, the resilient one, the teammate. Let that self step forward. Becoming then is not doom but adaptation. Sleep again is a faithful measure. Night reveals what the day conceals. If the mind is rehearsing arguments or looping fantasies, clinging is at work and becoming is sprouting. Instead of bargaining with thought, feel the simple body truths that no opinion can overrule. The bed supports you, air moves in and out, gravity holds without asking for performance. Place a cool palm on the face and a warm palm on the belly, and tell the nervous system you may put down what you are holding. If the hand closes again, notice, soften, repeat. Repetition is mercy. Over time, the body learns that rest is not stolen but allowed, that nothing essential is lost when the lights go out. Perhaps the most touching discovery on this link is that letting go is not a trick to get what you want. It is what you want: ease in the chest, room in the mind, love that breathes. Ease does not mean passivity. When harm appears, we act. When justice calls, we move. But we act from a hand that can open and close as needed, not from a fist that has forgotten how to unclench. In this way, the chain that once forged heavy identities becomes a bracelet you can remove at night, a decoration. Rather than a shackle, you wake to the same world and a different weight, living as someone who can enjoy without owning, care without controlling, and belong without performing. And each time the hand closes, as it will, you notice, breathe, and place it gently back on the heart, where it remembers what it learned long ago and sometimes forgets, that love is not a grip but a warmth, and warmth moves best when it is free. Birth in this teaching is not only the delivery room and the first cry. It is the moment a new pattern steps into the light because conditions were ready. The instant a thought becomes a role, a mood becomes a day, a habit becomes a life. Aging is the soft and sometimes aching truth that everything with a beginning changes, that even joy wears different clothes tomorrow, that even pain shifts its weight when you are not looking. Death is not only the last exhale, it is the ending that happens thousands of times. One breath finishing so another can begin. A belief loosening its hold, an identity completing its task and stepping quietly off stage. To see these truths gently is to befriend the rhythm that was always here, and to discover that peace isn't found by freezing the river but by learning its curves. When clinging and becoming have done their work, something is born on episode of self, a story, a mood, and because it is born, it will age and pass. This is not a threat but a mercy disguised as law. If what hurts did not change, there would be no healing. If what delights did not change, there would be no fresh delight. We suffer most when we ask what is moving to stand still, or ask what is ending to pretend to be the beginning. So the practice at this link is the practice of bowing to cycles, honoring the seasons of the heart without turning them into verdicts. You wake, and a particular self is born with the dawn, the one who carries yesterday's worries or today's hope. You move through the morning, and that self ages as meetings or music or silence touch it. By evening, a different self is ready to be born, one who can put the dishes away and look out the window and feel the day soften. If we mistake these selves for a single permanent me, we spend our energy enforcing a mask. If we recognize their arising and passing, We can play our roles with grace and set them down without a fight. This wisdom grows tender around grief. To love is to be open to birth and death, at once the birth of connection, the death of certainties, the birth of memories, the death of a future imagined. Grieving is not a problem to solve, but a tide to ride, and tides need room. Make that room by feeling the body's truth while you honor the story, letting tears have their salt, letting laughter return without guilt, letting the person you lost be born again in the way you live, in the kindness you extend, in the courage you take. In this way, death is not only a breaking, but a giving, a gift of clarity about what matters. With that clarity, we arrange our days not to defeat endings, but to spend beginnings well. Aging invites similar honesty. The body changes in delicate increments. The knee argues with the stairs. The face keeps a few of the sun's stories. The night prefers earlier hours. Each change is an invitation to love reality as it is, instead of as it was. Love here looks like care rather than complaint. Better shoes, kinder schedules, deeper rests, more precise yeses, and clean no's. The mind ages too, and can age beautifully when it is fed with attention and purpose rather than with frantic novelty. The practice is to stay interested in life as it is right now, to ask often what is vivid here, and to let that vividness color your choices. There is a joy particular to honest aging, a soft pride that comes from carrying a life with less pretense and more warmth. The Buddha's map does not stop with describing the cycle. It points to a soft door in the wall, the door of cessation. Cessation does not mean annihilation. It means the ending of the heat that suffering adds to pain and the stickiness that craving adds to pleasure. It means fires that fed the chain are no longer stoked by ignorance. Every time you meet contact with clarity, feeling with space, craving with enoughness, clinging with ease, becoming with wise intention, a little birth is prevented, not the birth of beauty or kindness, but the birth of a painful loop. This is how freedom looks in daily life. Fewer loops, gentler cycles, more room. The path that supports this is simple and profound. Seeing clearly, intending kindly, speaking truthfully, acting and working in ways that reduce harm, remembering to remember, gathering the mind, and cultivating insight. You do not have to master these all at once. You weave them into a day the way you salt a soup, tasting as you go. Seeing clearly might be as small as admitting you were tired before you agree. Kind intention might be a quiet promise in the car to be patient in the meeting. Truthful speech might be saying, "I don't know." Ethical action might be choosing a pause instead of a sharp reply. Remembering might be the phone wallpaper that says breathe. Steadiness of mind might be 10 minutes watching the rise and fall of the belly. Insight might be the whisper that says this will pass, and so will I. And that passing is not a threat to love, but the condition of it. For sleep, this link is a lantern. Many restless nights are small births of new selves who want to run the world from the pillow, the planner, the worrier, the fixer. Your practice is to let those selves complete their brief life without feeding them. Greet them kindly, thank them for their service, and invite the sleeper to be born instead. You can do this with ritual. Dim the lights early so evening is allowed to age into night. Set down the day with 3 sentences, written by hand: what I'm grateful for, what I'm done with. What can wait, and then give the body evidence of safety. The weight of a blanket, the feel of the sheets, the number 10 counted by the belly. When a thought arrives, see it as a leaf floating by. When a memory stings, let it be rain on the roof. the sleeper is born from conditions like these. You are not forcing anything. You are preparing a nest and letting gravity do what it has always done. In relationships, this understanding becomes kindness. When a friend is angry, you see that a self has been born in them, protective, scared, blazing, and you do not have to fight that self or fix it. You can make conditions for a different self to arise, listening without interruption, clarity without cruelty, time without pressure. In yourself, when jealousy or impatience are born, you can refrain from giving them a long life by not building a home of repetitive thoughts for them. Instead, you feel them in the body as energy, name them softly, and let them age into something wiser, often vulnerability or a simple request. In community, this view invites patience with seasons. Projects begin, flourish, and end. People arrive and leave. Values endure when held with flexibility. What continues is the thread of care that runs through many births and deaths. Work changes too. Instead of building a fortress around reputation, you tend to the living practice of craft one clear email, one honest meeting, one well-made thing, and allow your working identity to evolve. When a chapter ends, you grieve and give thanks, and you let the next chapter be born without demanding it resembled the last. This adaptability is not resignation. It is fidelity to the truth that vitality moves. Even joy is sweeter when you accept its seasons. You dance fully while the song plays, and you smile when the last note fades, because silence is part of music. In the morning, another song will be born. You do not rush it, you make the room ready. There is a deeper quiet available when you sit very still and simply sense this body breathing. Sense the flow of experience arriving and departing on its own. If you follow a sensation carefully, you will find it does not stay still long enough to be owned. If you follow a thought carefully, you will find it dissolves as you look. If you follow a feeling carefully, you will find it changes temperature and shape. In that careful looking, the heart discovers that what it is seeking isn't in the objects that arise, but in the openness that knows them. This openness is not born and does not age the way contents do. Resting here, even for a breath, is tasting the end of the chain. Not a dramatic event, but a familiar homecoming, as if you had been holding a heavy bag and suddenly remembered to set it down. Nothing is lost that needed to be carried. Everything is lighter. From this quiet, life goes, any mails and errands and laughter and tears, but the sense of urgency softens. You respond rather than react. You love more freely because you are not trying to imprison what you love. Tonight, as you prepare to sleep, you might place one hand on your heart and one on your belly and tell the truth that frees. This day was born. It aged. It is ending. The person I was this morning did their best. The person I am now can rest. The person I will be tomorrow will be born into the conditions I lay down with this breath. Let those conditions be kindness, simplicity, and trust. Feel the bed hold you as the river holds a leaf. With each exhale, let a small death take what is finished. With each inhale, let a small birth carry only what is needed into the next moment. In this rhythm, the chain that once felt like iron becomes a garland of moments, each one fragrant and brief. You wear it lightly for a while, then let it fall beside the bed, and you drift toward the wide, quiet place that was waiting all along. As this journey closes, feel how the whole map has been quietly living in you all along. Fog giving way to seeing, small wins becoming habits, the open field of knowing, the tender partnership of mind and body, the 6 doors inviting and releasing the world, the soft click of contact, the first colors of feeling. the lean of craving and the gentle hand that offers enough, the grip of clinging loosening into space, the selves that are born and age and pass like waves on a shore. None of this is theory when you meet it in the breath you are taking now. The way the chest rises without your command and the bed or chair holds you without conditions. Freedom is not somewhere else, it is found in the pause you gift yourself. In the one honest sentence you speak, in the small mercy of closing a screen and opening a window, in the quiet courage to feel what is here without turning it into a verdict about your worth. If you remember only this, let it be that every link becomes softer when held with awareness and kindness, and that softening is enough to change the climate of a life. Tonight, lay the day down as you would lay down a child who has grown heavy with sleep. Careful, patient, grateful. Count 10 breaths by the rise and fall of the belly, and if the mind wanders, let that be another tide you can float upon. Tell yourself the simple truth that nourishes rest. I did enough for today. I am safe enough to sleep. Tomorrow will be born from this kindness. If the teachings here have lit even a small lamp in your evening, I invite you to keep walking with us. Subscribe to Buddhism for Sleep, where each week we return to this gentle practice of seeing clearly and caring well, of tending the doors and honoring the body, of meeting contact and feeling with wisdom, of loosening, craving, and clinging until the heart remembers it is spacious. Join a community that values slow changes, plain beauty, and the deep relief of sufficiency. Share these nights with someone who could use a softer pillow inside their chest. Leave a comment with a line from your day you are ready to set down, and a line you wish to carry forward. May your room grow quiet, your breath become a tide, and your sleep arrive like a friend who always knew the way.